I work the night shift at a 7-Eleven, a stone's throw from a graveyard. That's me, the guy who exchanges pleasantries with the late-night crowd, the insomniacs, the partygoers, and the graveyard's silent neighbors. It's an odd mix, but you get used to it. The shift begins as any other. The neon lights flicker, casting long, dancing shadows across the empty aisles. The hum of the refrigerators is my constant companion, occasionally punctuated by the chime of the entrance bell. Yet there's an undercurrent of something else, a sense of unease that you can't quite shake off. The graveyard looms large in the backdrop, its silhouette an ever-present reminder of the transient nature of life. A chill runs down my spine as I catch a fleeting glimpse of a shadow darting across the tombstones. It could be a trick of the light, or perhaps something more sinister. It's just another night, or so I thought. It was around 2 a.m. when the door chime rang. The stillness of the night was broken by the arrival of a solitary figure. A man, draped in an oddly antiquated garb, stepped into the soft fluorescent glow of the store. His presence was unsettling, as though he was a relic from a bygone era, wandering into our modern world. His eyes, ancient and weary, scanned the shelves before he began to gather an assortment of items. A lone candle, a box of matches, and a pack of salt. Each item seemed as out of place as the man himself. He approached the counter, his movements slow and deliberate, as if every step held a purpose. His hand, gnarled and weathered, extended to offer payment. His voice, barely a whisper, sliced through the silence like a cold winter breeze. "Beware the graveyard," he said. His words hung in the air, a chilling warning wrapped in a shroud of mystery. I could only blink in response, my mind racing to make sense of his cryptic caution. Then, as quickly as he had appeared, he was gone. The door chime rang out again, a mournful tolling that echoed his departure. The quiet of the night returned, swallowing the remnants of his presence. He left me standing there, his words echoing in my mind. A chill ran down my spine, a sense of unease settling in. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a night I would never forget. I tried to shake off the unnerving encounter, but something felt off. An unshakable chill crept up my spine. It was as if the very air around me had turned cold and hostile. The usual hum of the refrigerator seemed distant, drowned out by an eerie silence that hung heavy in the air. I could hear whispers, faint and unintelligible, echoing in the empty aisles. They were just out of reach, like a conversation happening behind a closed door. As I tried to locate the source, I noticed a can of soda rolling off the shelf, all on its own. It clattered onto the floor, the sound shattering the silence like a glass window. A cold breeze swept through the store, rustling the newspapers and sending chills down my spine. It was inexplicable. The doors were shut, the windows were closed. There was no source for this sudden gust of wind. I turned to the store's CCTV monitor, hoping to find some logical explanation for these strange occurrences. The camera feed showed the aisles, the checkout counter, the refrigerator, all empty. Yet the screen flickered with weird movements, as if shadows were dancing just out of sight. I felt my heart pound against my chest. The whispers grew louder, the cold intensified, and the shadows moved with a life of their own. Fear gripped me, a fear that was primal and deep. I was alone in the store, or so I thought. As the night wore on, I felt a pull towards the graveyard. An irresistible curiosity gripped me, a magnetic force that seemed to emanate from the ghostly terrain just beyond the 7-Eleven. Against my better judgment, I decided to venture into the labyrinth of tombstones. The moon, a pale white lantern, lent me just enough light to see. As I wandered deeper, a particular gravestone caught my eye. It was older, weathered by countless years, yet the name etched into the cold stone was as clear as day. With a gasp, I recognized it. The same name as our enigmatic visitor. I leaned in, my breath fogging the chilly air, and read the epitaph. A tale of a tragic event unfolded before me. A story from decades ago, of a man who had worked the night shift at the same 7-Eleven. One fateful night he'd mysteriously disappeared, never to be seen again. His last known location, the 7-Eleven. As I stood there, soaking in the eerie silence, the pieces of the puzzle started to fall into place. The visitor, the strange occurrences, the uncanny connection between the graveyard and the 7-Eleven. It was all linked, woven together by the threads of a chilling tale that stretched back through the years. The dots started connecting, and I felt a chill run down my spine. Back in the store, the air felt heavier. It was as if the weight of a century's worth of stories was pressing down on me. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to take on lives of their own. A cold gust swept through the store despite the firmly shut doors. I could hear the faint, distant sound of a baby's cry. I was alone, but it felt as if the store was teeming with unseen souls. I couldn't shake off the feeling that the graveyard just a stone's throw away held more than just the remains of the departed. It was a reservoir of unresolved stories, of lives cut short, of spirits yearning for closure, and every night, they sought refuge in the 24-hour sanctuary of the 7-Eleven. The pieces of the puzzle started falling into place: the midnight visitor, the inexplicable occurrences, the eerie connection to the graveyard. My heart pounded as the chilling realization hit me. The visitor was not just a random customer, he was one of them, a wandering spirit tethered to this world by an unfinished tale. A sense of dread washed over me as I grappled with the horrifying truth. I was not merely a night shift worker in a convenience store, I was the unwilling participant in a spectral drama that unfolded every night just as the world of the living retreated into the safety of sleep. And then, just as the sun began to rise, the door chime rang again.